doubts in an offensive way, where they're not open to receiving instruction, then they can very easily commit an offense at the lotus feet of the devotees. When this happens, their attachment diminishes. So up to that point, they have shadow attachment or reflected attachment due to associating with devotees. But then because they make an offense at the lotus feet of the devotees or at the lotus feet of the holy name, trying to preach to the faithless is the 9th offense against the holy name. So if you try to preach to somebody who doesn't want to hear about it, then you're not only going to get shut down and set yourself up for a loss, but you're also going to create an offense against the holy name of the Lord. See? When you do that, that diminishes your faith. It diminishes your attachment. It diminishes your enthusiasm for devotional service. You start doubting. You start wondering if this is really true, if this is really powerful. You know, these other devotees, maybe they start getting paranoid, you know. Maybe it's just a conspiracy, and they're trying to get us to followers, and yeah, maybe it's really just a cult. No, you know. I mean, yeah, right. Maybe they're just taking me for a ride, and maybe, and they start speculating, and you know. So then, all of a sudden, you don't hear from them for a while. You know, they don't post on the forum. Well, where's so and so? I don't know. He hasn't posted anything in a couple of weeks, and then we know. Oh yeah, okay. You know, something happened. He tried to preach to his mother-in-law. You know, so all these things are going on. You know, these scriptures, they're not just like theoretical. You know, they're like very practical, very down to earth, very like something you can use every day in your devotional service. They're all like this. So, then, if someone becomes attached to the principles of salvation, or to merging into the existence of the Brahmajyoti, his ecstasies gradually diminish into shadow and para attachment, or else transform into the principles of ahangrahopasana. This ahangrahopasana describes a living entity when he begins spiritual realization by identifying himself with the Supreme Lord. This state of self-realization is technically known as monism. The monist thinks himself one with the Supreme Lord. Thus, he does not differentiate between himself and the Supreme Lord. It is his view that by worshiping himself, he is worshiping the Supreme Whole. So this is actually the opposite of devotional service. In devotional service, we give service to Krishna. See? But when a person is in a state of monism, they want to accept service as Krishna. I mean, the guru accepts service sometimes on behalf of Krishna. But then he turns around and offers it to Krishna, or offers it to his spiritual master. The monist accepts service thinking, I am God, come and serve me. Great, that's very good. Yes, yes. I mean, it's very puffed up. Yeah? How could you be any more puffed up than to think, I'm God? It's not possible. So being so puffed up, this is the opposite of the humility that is the mark of advanced devotees. So we don't see that these people make any spiritual advancement. And any spiritual advancement they have, when they adopt this attitude, they lose it. Sometimes it is found that a neophyte is taking part in chanting and dancing very enthusiastically, but within himself he is under the impression that he has become one with the Supreme Whole. This conception of monism is completely different from pure transcendental devotional service. If, however, it is seen that a person has developed a high standard of devotion without having undergone even the regulative principles, it is to be understood that his status of devotional service was achieved in a former life. For some reason or another, it had been temporarily stopped, most probably by an offense committed at the lotus feet of a devotee. Now, with a second good chance, it has again begun to develop. The conclusion is that steady progress in devotional service can be attained only in the association of pure devotees. So, is that clear to everybody that the devotional attitude and the impersonalist attitude are completely opposites? Complete opposites. If you think that I am one with God, if you think that I am God, if you think that it's all one, if you think that there's no difference between you and Brahman, and it's all light and all of this stuff, you can't make any spiritual advancement. Because this is an offense at the feet of the holy name, an offense at the feet of the Lord, and an offense at the feet of the pure devotees. The pure devotees dedicate their lives to worshiping God. The personal form of God, not the impersonal energies of God, but the source, the creative source, the creator, the designer, the intelligent designer, the supreme personality of Godhead. We worship him. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Lord, Govinda, the giver of pleasure to the cows and the senses, the supreme person, Adi Purusham, the original person. See, that's who we worship. And that's why we get devotional ecstasies. That's why we're always in love. You see? We're ever youthful. Because we're always in love with the personality of Godhead, who is ever youthful, ever expanding, always new, fresh, young. He's always a fresh young boy. So try to understand. We do not accept this impersonal spiritual alignment. Why? Because we see by experience that those people don't make any spiritual advancement. They simply pretend. And then when nobody's looking, they sneak off and have a smoke, you know. Go down to McDonald's and pig out. So try to understand that we've seen this again and again and again and again and again and again. You can't fool us. Okay? We know. You're just pretending. We know. It's okay. Just go off and pretend somewhere else. Okay? Because we don't want your association. I'm sorry. You know, you're not sincere. And if you're not sincere, then even if we defeat your nonsense impersonal philosophy, you won't accept it. Within yourself, you will still maintain this same offensive attitude. So we don't want that kind of association. We want to be around people who are sincere. This is another reason why we filter people on our website. And the result is that we have a very, very nice group of people who don't manifest any of these offensive attitudes. And if somebody shows up who does, it's very obvious to everybody because they're so different. So anyway, if one can gradually advance his status in devotional service, this is understood to be due to the causeless mercy of Krishna himself. If a person is completely detached from material enjoyment and has developed pure ecstatic devotion, even if it is sometimes accidentally, even if he is sometimes accidentally found not living up to the standard of devotional service, one should not be envious of him. It is confirmed also in Bhagavad-gītā that a devotee who has unflinching faith in and devotion to the Lord, even if sometimes found to be accidentally deviated from pure devotional characteristics, should still be counted among the pure. unflinching faith in devotional service, in Lord Krishna, and in the spiritual master makes one highly elevated in the activities of devotional service. In the Nrsimha Purana it is stated, if a person has completely engaged his mind, body, and activities in the service of the Supreme Godhead, but externally he is found to be engaged in some abominable activities, these abominable activities will surely be very quickly vanquished by the influence of his staunch devotional force. The example is given that on the full moon there are some spots, which may appear to be pockmarks. Still, the illumination spread by the full moon cannot be checked. Similarly, a little fault in the midst of volumes of devotional service is not at all to be counted as a fault. Attachment for Krishna is transcendental bliss. Amid unlimited volumes of transcendental bliss, a spot of some